I would want to talk about language today. Is it an advantage to have your child speak your language? Is it an advantage for your child to learn how to speak your linguistics properly? I would want to think that is really good. If your child can speak your language, if you can teach your child your language, you will realize that at one point, that child needs that language. At one point, you might need to talk to your child when somebody doesn't hear what you are saying. And I think it's a great advantage to you and your child to learn how to speak the language fluently. I've realized a lot of other cultures, they do speak their language. If you see the Asian child, they go to a school after they go to this school, and then later on they are booked to their class where they learn their language, the linguistics, how they behave in front of their elders, so that they don't forget, they don't depart from their culture. So they go to where they learn the language. And then when they come home, they speak to their parents fluently. And you guys, if you are a Zimbabwean like me, we have this idea of thinking because we are very learned, because we go to school, we've got degrees. So your child is not going to speak this language. Where is this child going to speak the language? But okay, what if one day your child, you go home with your child and doesn't speak your language? It's really sad, because your child needs to speak your language. It will help that child one day. There was one child, he used to go to school and he used to be beaten by others. And the teachers wouldn't mind because, well, he would just cry and then they would say, stop fighting, stop fighting. And one day, the mother asked the child, why is it that you always come home miserable? And the child said, oh, you know what, mom? When I'm at school, people pull my hair, people want to touch my hair, and even if I tell them I'm not a pet, don't touch my hair, they still want to touch my hair. They want to feel my hair, so I don't know what to do. And the mother said, okay, next time someone does that, push them back as well. If he pushes you to the ground, push that person to the ground. Because you also have got your hands, isn't it? So the child did the same. And when the teacher said, oh, you have got to take this letter to your mom, she's got to come, and then we sort this one out. The mother said, you and me, when we go to school, we are going to speak in our language. And then I will then translate it. And that happened. Do you know what? They wanted to understand what she was telling her child, which was an advantage. You see, this was an advantage to his child, so that they had to speak in their language and then translate it. I think it's a very good idea if your child could learn your language. Speak your language fluently with your child. Let your child know the linguistics of it, and let your child appreciate speaking your language. I've seen a lot of the children here. They speak to their parents in English, and the mother will also speak in English. Sometimes they speak in their language, they speak in Ndebele, and the child answers back in Shona, in English. They speak Shona, and the child will answer back in English. Yes, he can understand, but he cannot speak, really. You know what? Speaking that language one day, you will appreciate it. It will help. And he can even go on to work and be an interpreter for the people who speaks the language. He can even go and help someone who cannot speak English, as long as he can speak the language that person understands. Life is it's unpredictable. You never know where your child will end up one day. So why not speak your language? Teach your child the correct language that you speak. If it is Ndebele, teach the child Ndebele. If it is Shona, teach your child Shona. If it is Kore, speak your child Kore. If it is Chewa, speak your child in Chewa. Speak to him in Chewa. And let him answer back in that language. Don't let your child speak to you in English, because English is your second language, right? So your first language should be your mother's vernacular, because that helps understand between you and him or her. It does help, and you remember one day, if you pass through this recording today, you will remember this, that you know what, there was a lady who spoke about this sometime, because you'll be somewhere. Life changes. There's drama in life most of the time. You never know where the next day is gonna be, end up, in situations. So if you can teach your children to speak your language, I'm sure it will be a blessing to them. They will learn to appreciate you, because it's not only that they speak to you, because they can also help others in translating, isn't it? Or you go home with the child and the child doesn't know what to say when you get home with the child. It doesn't make sense. You are a Zimbabwean and your child cannot speak your language. I don't know how we are doing this as parents. I don't understand why we are getting to a point whereby we think our language is rubbish. Because I think our language is really beautiful, and if you can teach your child how to speak that language, it's marvelous. Let him appreciate who you are. Let him appreciate who he is as well. Because no matter what, he still is Zimbabwean. No matter what, he still belongs to Zimbabwe. Yeah, we can live in the diaspora for a long time, but still, we are Zimbabweans. Why not carry our flag forward and show that we are Zimbabweans? And this is the language that we speak. And this is the language that we teach our children. They can speak English, of course, but let them speak when they're at school. But when they come home, let them speak your language. I've had issues with my children as well, because I had noticed that their children, they really struggle even to say, hello, Gogo, how are you? They will say, oh, hi, Gogo, and in a Discord way. Yeah, but I'm always stressing this up, that their children should learn how to speak the language. It's an advantage to them and to you as well, because one day they need that language. One day they want to speak that language. You know what? When you get to somewhere where you speak your language, you sing the songs in our language, I feel proud of it. Even when I can get to a place where I would sing in our language, I feel motivated to sing again, because the linguistics in them, the meaning, I understand the meaning more than I can do with English or any other language which is not my own. I do appreciate my own. My father was Malawian, but born in Zimbabwe, so they did speak a part of their language a bit, which I could pick here and there. But then we spoke Shona, and this is what I speak. So I love to speak my language. I even love to share it with my children, and I try to do the old folk stories where our grannies used to speak to us when we go home. I also want to share with them and then try and make them understand the language. But I think it's a duty for every parent. I would urge you today to say, teach your child the language that you speak, because it's really an advantage to your child. He will appreciate you one day, or you will appreciate the situation that you might get in one day that needs you and your child to communicate before someone else can understand what you are saying. It's an advantage. And I think, to every parent, appreciate who you are, appreciate your culture. It might be awkward, of course, but that's your culture. If you can appreciate it and tell your child what your culture is all about, your child will understand that. In the long run, they won't get lost to who we are. They won't get lost to our culture. They will always stay in the culture background, although they will not practice more of it, but one day they will appreciate you. That's one thing that I can say for today. And you take care and teach your children the language that you speak.